Well, hello, everybody. That didn't go that well. Hello.
Hello.
There we go. Excellent. Well, we have a really, really wonderful panel for you guys today. I know that it's been a lot. It's the third day, towards the end of the third day. But we hope to keep it lively and entertaining. And I'm very happy to be sitting up here with some real experts on the topic. I'm here because I'm interested in learning about this topic. Therese from Reimagining, a real forward-thinking leader on this topic of how do we reimagine work and how do we keep humans at the center of it. Erick Sosa, country manager for Microsoft, and does a whole lot of cool stuff with gaming and AI, and his job certainly sounds like a lot of fun. And Brian, who is inspiring us with his love letters to the world, and who we will get to hear from today. So let me kick it off by saying, you know, we've lived through many of these changes throughout the history of humanity, certainly. I was making that reflection during the kickoff about, you know, the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the computer revolution, the e-commerce revolution, and now things like the gig economy revolution, and finally, of course, the AI revolution. And the one thing we see is these changes are happening faster and faster, and the magnitude of these changes seems to be larger and larger. And from my perspective, again, as somebody who wants to learn about this topic, as a leader of a foundation who is basically trying to find and provide the tools, the learning tools for young adults who want to have the competencies, the skills necessary for the jobs of tomorrow. It is certainly a turbulent time, I'll put it that way, right? How do we make sure that those kids are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow? And as my 15-year-old son asked me the other day, Dad, what do I study that is an AI-proof career in college? So those are some of the questions we're going to be jumping into today. And if I may start with Brian, I'd love to ask you about fear. Because as we see all of these changes, certainly there's a reason that we fear change, right? There's that uncertainty of what the future will hold. And it seems to me that fear could overshadow love. And your perspective on how do we overcome that fear, and how do we embrace the changes as they come so that we're effective in addressing some of those changes as they come?
All right. Well, thank you all for being here and hearing us. I think that, you know, for me, whenever I think about the word fear, I just think about what are you afraid of, right? So the thing that I see as an entrepreneur and the thing that I see as a writer and a filmmaker is that most people are afraid of actually not fulfilling some sort of life purpose. And that fear, you know, a lot of times people mask not actually wanting to do something with the excuse of fear. I'm too scared to try this because I don't know if this will work because and really if you deconstruct fear, what I've seen and what I've felt personally is that it's simply that you're actually just mostly afraid of your inability to make your life matter and to build your dream in the way that you've always wanted to build it. So I think that the best way that love beats fear is it completely starts with yourself and your own dream and saying, like, I am scared that this might not work. I am scared that I might fail in front of my best friend or in front of my partner or in front of my mom or in front of my dad. And I'm going to love myself enough to give myself a chance anyway to do that. And I think that that's the first step towards making sure that fear doesn't overturn love, is taking a chance on yourself and your dream, because this life is really short. And what I found is when you start taking small steps, they add up really quickly. And then all of a sudden the fear is less and less and less because you're just feeling like, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually doing this. And once you start to feel I'm actually doing this, it's really hard to stop doing it.
I love it. Love trumps fear. but we got to recognize the fear and we got to take those little steps. Therese, you describe your work as reimagining work. How should we visualize work going forward? What are the changes that we can expect? And we've seen the pendulum go from in-person to virtual to back to in-person. What's the right answer? And how do we make sure that we keep technology working for humans instead of humans working for technology?
All right. So thank you all for being here. And those were a lot of questions. So I will start with some of them. I want you to imagine that we are facing a crossroad where we can live in a world where humanity is serving technology or technology is serving us. And it's the same when it comes to culture. We need to recognize that company culture can be designed, but it takes that courage and decision to design it and to design it well. So as we're facing the next big crossroad in our lifetime during these decades ahead, it's important to recognize that all of these technologies, all of these challenges, this is a tool. This is a tool to elevate humanity and to create a life of significance and meaning. And we can use entrepreneurship and culture as part of that vehicle. So how do I reimagining work? By creating people and purpose-centric companies where people who believe in what you believe in are attracted to the company for all the right reasons, where you're able to show up every day at work and feel a deep sense of connection, contribution, and belonging to achieve these really big challenges that we all are facing as humanity.
I love it. So the workplace we're reimagining is the workplace we're designing. So, and I love this explicit design of culture that you're talking about, and how do we keep, obviously, ourselves as humans at the center of that culture and making the workplace, well, as attractive as possible for our future workforce. So, Erick, if I may, we just saw the workers' union in LA arrive at an agreement and an end to their strike. And one of the things that they were requesting as part of that settlement was protections against AI, and specifically feeding the AI engine some of the historical products that those writers themselves had written, so that the AI engine couldn't create future versions of the episode based on past writings and past episodes. My question is this: what are some of the ethical boundaries that should be set for AI, and particularly AI as it relates to the workplace and as it relates to the potential taking over of jobs? And the other big question is, who should set those boundaries? So Erick, please.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, Salvador. And it's not an easy answer, and I don't have the let's say, a particular answer for that question, because it's an open discussion. I mean, we have to discuss about not just the job displacement that you're mentioning, but also the kind of the ethical consideration or the ethical matter that we have to plan for that. So, for instance, the transparency, the privacy, how to treat the personal data that the AIs need to evolve, actually. So for me, probably the right thing to tackle this problem is to open a discussion with all the involved parties. We have to discuss with the governments, with the technological companies around the world, because which is ethical here is probably not ethical in other parts of the world. So you need to open the discussion, you need to open the models, you need to be very clear about how you treat the data that you are using to train your model. So for me, it's an open discussion that we need to tackle as a country, as a society, as a community, and probably we're going to arrive to a particular answer when we open the discussion with more people. That's with the academic parties, with the government, with the public sector, with the private sector. So we need to, we need to foster this kind of events just to discuss the ethical part or aspects of the AI for sure.
No, it's a fascinating discussion and probably one that exceeds the scope of this particular panel, but certainly the threats that could be placed by AI to future jobs, and how do we, at the end of the day, proactively design the mechanisms, the systems, the boundaries, such that, again, we're keeping technology working for us humans and not the other way around.
For sure.
Let me shift gears a little bit. And Brian, let me ask you about job satisfaction and the role that job satisfaction is having in the way we think about work and the way we think about future work. And certainly there's generational changes as well, younger generations and how they perceive the work week, and certainly the value and the satisfaction that they're deriving from work. And my question is this: is it possible to create an environment, a job environment, worthy of a love letter? And is there such a thing? Can we love our work?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just a quick question. How many people out here love what they do? Just raise your hand. I mean, look at that. That's like 3/4 of the room. That's pretty amazing. And I think that, the answer is like everybody has a different thing that they love, right? And that thing always changes. Like some people love the fact that they can leave at 5 and be with their kids. Some people love the fact that they can work from home. Some people love so the job, the environments are so different for everybody. But I think that, because I'm always trying to think about, like, there's a lot of people out here. What can I say that might move the needle a little bit for you in terms of, I think if you're happy with what you do, then you've already really won a huge part of this equation of life, right? And I think if you don't love what you do, then there are so many ways to get to a place of loving what you do. And I think that, is job satisfaction worthy of a love letter? I think so. I think that for me, the idea of, work-life balance is really tricky because I don't have any, right? My work and my life are really melded into the same thing because I love what I do so much. I love that I get to meet people. I love that I get to create films. I love that I get to write love letters. I get to be here with amazing people like you all in Guatemala. So I think that, job satisfaction, is it possible? Absolutely. And if you have it, that's amazing. And I think that we should share more about our job satisfaction. I think that so many people think that jobs and work needs to be something that just pays the bill still. I think that's changing a lot with the generations, to your point. But I think that, sharing with people that you love how happy you are with your work, I think is really important. And I think that if you're not happy with your work, there's no shame around that, but try and also share that with people that you love and people that you have in your network and people that have people in their networks, because at the end of the day, I do think that we all want job satisfaction. I think that the world gets a lot better when everyone's happy. A lot of crime happens because people are miserable. And I think that if you can start to say, I love my job and here's why I love it, it starts to plant seeds to this theme of this topic, reimagining work. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that job existed. And you do that and you get paid for that, that's cool. Or if you didn't like it, you say, like, I am actually not that stoked about what I'm doing, but I don't really know where to go next. Who should I talk to? And I think that the love letter piece for me is just that. It's providing people with a sense of wonder and a sense of curiosity that, oh my gosh, there are all these people out in the world that are doing these things and making a living from them. They sound so cool. How do I do that too? And instilling that fire in you that you have a long life and you have 40 hours a week, which is like so many hundreds of thousands of your hours. You might as well go for something that you like. And if you like it, share it. And if you don't like it, find people that can help you, because there's a lot of people out there that really want people around them to be happy. And if that means getting a better job or starting something and you don't know how to do it, so many people around you that will help. Reach out. Don't be scared. There's no shame in not liking what you do right now because the opportunities are so abundant.
That's a great concept, that there is no job-life balance when they mesh, right?
And for a lot of people, there is a great work-life balance, and that's also fine. But I think that for me, I've just found that beating myself up about working too much or about then taking too much time off doesn't really work because it's a really long, I see it as a really long game.
Therese, what are the drivers to job satisfaction going forward? Where do you see the biggest levers for that future workplace, and how can we design that future workplace?
Right. So before answering that, just to build upon what you said, I want you guys to imagine your purpose and your values in your life, and then look for places, communities like this, companies, collaborations, communities outside this room, where you can connect with like-minded people with the same values and same drive and passion. And that's how we address some of this issue of separating life and work, which is a weird concept in my mind, which I call lifestyle design, where you put yourself in the center and your values and your purpose there, and then you build a life around that. And it doesn't matter how you fill that life, if it is working 80-hour weeks or if it is working 4-hour weeks, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment, because everything comes back to you and living a life of significance and fulfillment. To answer the question, how do we reimagine these type of cultures in the future? First of all, we need to recognize that 80% globally are not engaged in the workplace, which is a staggering number. So why is that? Well, for too long, an old model have been used to build companies, putting profits first, then customers, then people. That have led to that, but have also led to suffering in the workplace. And this is a choice. And for a while, that's worked for some. But the shift we're seeing right now, and some companies have been pioneers within this space for years, but they put people first, then customers, then profit. Because what happens when you do that, people who believe in what you believe in will be attracted to the company. They will thrive and they will show up as their best self. That will lead to innovative and groundbreaking products and services and high customer service that creates an exceptional experience. And that will lead to growth and profitability and loyalty in a time when that's more important than ever for all of us. So that's the big shift. To understand, if you're a founder, you can build a highly successful, thriving company with this people-centric approach in the center, and challenging the big companies that are not believing in that, because that's not the future. And we see that in generational shifts, but we also see that suffering is a choice, and there's no reason for anybody to suffer. We are here to thrive and to contribute something greater than ourselves.
Fantastic. Erick, I imagine Microsoft thinks about these things. What's the future of the Microsoft workplace look like, and what changes is Microsoft thinking about in order to create that workplace of the future?
It's a tough discussion, because like 5 years ago, we created something that we call the responsible AI, because we embarked in this new, let's say, project with GitHub like 8 years ago actually. And now with different AI models that we're launching to the market, like the Copilot. I was talking with several people out there that is using actually Copilot for several things. So we used to think in AI and all the technology that we're launching as a vehicle to really potentialize the human capacities. So that's probably one of the things that we are doing with all the technology that we are launching. And other thing that we are doing is trying to foster the discussion with the different parties involving around the world, just to be clear about how to use the data that we are capturing. I mean, we're capturing a lot of signals with Office 365, with Dynamics, with Azure actually, and trying to be clear about how to use the data for good. And that's one of the big purposes that we have. We are trying to democratize all the access to AI by using, open AI tools. And probably we see a future of the people using AI for good. To really letting the technology serve the human and other ways. So that's something that we talked at the beginning of the conversation. And that's probably the future that we are foreseeing and we are promoting actually.
Great. Thank you, Erick. So shifting gears a little bit, as I said, education is near and dear to my heart. But education happens to be one of those things that is moving at a snail's pace. We're seeing these technological changes that are really increasing or accelerating at an exponential rate, creating changes in terms of the skills and competencies that are required for the jobs of tomorrow. And yet education is going at such a slow pace and is changing at such a slow pace. I wanted to open it up for all of your opinions as to, is there anything to be done? What should be done on the educational side? What are those skills and competencies that we should be focusing on? And, your opinions also to things like, going to university once versus the lifelong learning type concepts, if you will. Therese, you want to
Sure.
kick it off?
You read my mind. I was about to say lifelong learning, regardless how we decide to relate to university and formal education, learning is a lifelong pursuit, right? And recognizing that for ourselves. But if we're talking about skills, we do have an expert on stage that knows all about the tech, so I'm going to talk about the human side here. So in all of this new innovation and technology, it's important to remember that we're still humans interacting. So how are we showing up after this panel and greet each other? How do we build this deep level of bond and connection with each other? How do we negotiate? How do we inspire each other? How do we see each other's potential? How do we lead each other? Those are some of the skills that I believe is incredibly important to build upon and to show, as well as having role models and dedicate yourself to that pursuit and experiment with it. Like instead of walking up to a person after this panel saying, what do you do? One idea could be ask them, what lights your heart on fire? What does a life of meaning looks like to you? To invite those deeper connections, because we can't forget that we're still humans and we are the drivers of all of this.
Can I go? Yeah. Obviously, we need to change the skills that we are teaching in the schools. For me, that's probably one of the discussions that we need to have with the schools, with the academic sector. But on top of that, I do believe that for the first time in the history, we have the opportunity to create personalized content for students. I mean, using the technology that we have right now, we have really the chance to create, let's say, materials that can adapt to each type of student in the academic world. So I'm thrilled about that, the opportunity that we have, because with the data that we have, with the different tools that we have, we can leverage and we can actually deliver material in a specific way for a specific student. So that's the beauty of the technology that we have between hands right now. So I'm thrilled about the opportunity that we have. Of course, we need more venture on that matter, because it's a long road to go that we have.
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship for a second. For anyone that's out there that's an entrepreneur that's thinking about running your own business or organization or cause or mission, I think that, for me, the greatest thing in life around being an entrepreneur is really two things. Number one, the people that you get to build with. I look around and I see, let's say 50, 60, 70, 100 people in this room, but I actually don't see 100 people. I see like 10,000 people, because every one of you 100 people have 100 people in your life. And so I think that we get very short-sighted around networking, because it's not really what you can do for me or what I can do for you. It's like, what can we talk about? What lights your heart on fire? How can we use technology? How can we not use technology? How can we use human interaction? How can we build something together in an exciting way? You got to have the human touch. Technology advances. There's a lot of things that technology does well, but it really does. All teams start with teams, and teams require human interaction. And the second thing that I really love about entrepreneurship is that you get the ability to try a lot of things at a really rapid speed. And I think that for anyone that's out there that's thinking about starting a business or thinking about starting an organization, before you dedicate 80 to 100 hours a week on that thing, go and taste it a little bit for fun. See if you really like it. If you want to open up a restaurant, go and work in the kitchen for 3 months at your favorite restaurant. talk to a restaurant owner and ask them, what is your day-to-day life like? Because there's so many times that we have a romantic ideal around something. We give away so much of our energy and our time, and in some cases, something that was pretty good that could become really good because we want to pursue something that 2, 3, 4 months in, we're like, oh, I actually hate this. So give yourself a little bit of space to taste a lot of things that you think you might love, and then your heart will light on fire when it's the right thing. And build the skills alongside with that fire, connect with people, and I think that really is the secret to almost every entrepreneurship success story that I've ever heard.
Building on that last point, Brian, in terms of teams, how do we continue to build that team and those connections, particularly in these more virtualized work environments and when we're doing, for example, coding from Guatemala, but for a company that's based in Palo Alto?
I think time together is important, and I think that, I know that Zoom became a big thing during the pandemic, but I really think that even if it's just a weekend a month or a weekend a quarter or a week a quarter, there's something very valuable about really intense time. I mean, I just spent 8 days with Jorge from Que Linda Guate, and I never knew him. I talked to him for 10 minutes before we met up, and for the last 8 days, we've been traversing 1,000 kilometers around this country. He's like family to me now. I think that we underestimate the power of really intense present time together, and you should absolutely carve that out no matter how remote things are. And I also think like it's nice to work with people that you like. If you don't want to sit, there's an old joke, like if you don't want to sit on a cross-country flight with your co-founder, it's probably not a good fit because you're going to be spending a lot of time with that person. And there's a lot of amazing people out there. So be patient with the search for the person that you want to work with, because I think energetically a good match is really important.
So I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I will. I like this from the last moderator who said, give me a tweet-sized soundbite about what each one of you thinks the future of work looks like and what the future of work looks like.
All right. The human side of future work is filled with high performance, thriving cultures. And if there's only one thing you can take away from today, I would invite you to think about how are you building a company that is thriving and high performance. And if you want to talk more, of course, I'm around.
Great.
Only one word, exciting. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the future of work is a combination of, me personally, it's telling stories of hope and wonder and awe. And I think that living that true for myself, and I think that, more of a macro future of work is my hope, my truest desire with all the work, and I put so much heart and soul and energy into this work that I do. My truest desire is that every single person here and every single person that we get the chance to meet with is doing something that is extremely fulfilling for them. Yeah. And dreaming about what that might look like and going for it with just reckless abandon. Because let me tell you all something that I can promise you. And I've seen it time and time again, no matter where you come from, no matter what socioeconomic status, what color, what religion, what race, if you really believe in something and you really want to do it, I promise you that there is a way to do it. I promise you. The world is changing, the markets are changing, the energetic consciousness is changing. If there is something that lights your heart on fire, I beg you with all of my heart to go and get it.
Well, likes from me on all 3 tweets. And I think we're basically out of time. I'm not sure if we have any availability for questions or if we have any questions from the audience. Otherwise,
no.
I will thank my 3 extremely wonderful panelists, and I've learned a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.